I'm here in Marblehead, Massachusetts, in historic Essex County. Now, why would I drag the H.R. Harmer team out to Marblehead other than the obvious beauty of a place like this? It's because we're fortunate enough in the coming months to be offering Mark Schwartz's collection of Essex County postal history. Mark Schwartz is a very well-known collector, exhibitor, writer, and the Essex County collection he was able to put together is one of his oldest and most accomplished collections. So we are very fortunate to be able to offer this at auction. So we wanted to come here to Essex County, one of the most historic counties in the United States. It was founded in 1643. The entire county is a designated National Heritage Area, and it's perhaps most famous historically because in 1812, Elbridge Gerry carved the county up for political gain, which is where we get the term gerrymandering from. Like I said, we're here in Marblehead, located right on the coast. This is the birthplace of the United States Navy. It was one of the most important shipbuilding cities in the early United States, especially before the American Revolution. It was Marblehead men, the forerunners to U.S. Navy men, who actually ferried George Washington across the Delaware River. So Marblehead is an incredibly important community. Like I said, also very beautiful, and we're excited to be here. I'm going to share some of the treasures from the Mark Schwartz collection with you. We just wanted to bring them back home to Essex County one last time before the auction. So one of the things Mark Schwartz focused on that I think is particularly interesting are uses of the 1847 stamps from Essex County, Massachusetts. The 1847 stamps were the first federally issued United States postage stamps. There was a 5-cent stamp with Benjamin Franklin, a 10-cent stamp with George Washington. And Mark Schwartz actually found these stamps used for many of the communities through Essex County, including, and I know the Massachusetts people are going to find fault with my pronunciation here, but I'm going to do my best. Haverhill, Massachusetts. This one here is Lawrence, Massachusetts, Andover, Massachusetts, and lastly, Swampscott, Massachusetts, where Mark Schwartz actually went to high school. So I think these uses of the 1847 issue are really fascinating because these stamps were not issued to every post office. A lot of these post offices relied on people taking stamps from the big city and bringing them to the small town and using them from these places throughout Essex County. So I think these 4 covers are very interesting and very historically important. Now, I think if I had to pick the most beautiful postmark used in Essex County, I would choose this fancy boxed postmark used in Andover for a very brief period in 1817. This is the only example known to collectors. It's not even listed in any of the catalogs. I think this cover is one of the most beautiful and rare and desirable pieces of mail ever sent from Essex County. Prior to July 1st, 1845, postal rates across the United States were a complicated mess based on how many sheets of paper you were sending, how far it was going. There were all sorts of rates, and you needed a chart to be able to figure out what your letter was going to cost. But July 1st, 1845, the postal rates across the United States were simplified. If a letter was going under 300 miles and weighed less than half an ounce, it cost 5 cents. Over 300 miles, half an ounce, 10 cents. This cover here was sent July 1st, 1845, and as you can see, it's marked 5 cents postage. This is the first day of the new rate that really paved the way for widespread communication in the United States of America. So prior to and during the American Revolution, Marblehead was a major port city in the United States. Many ships were built here. Like I said earlier, it was the birthplace of the United States Navy, and a lot of mail entering the United States came into the country through ships docking at Marblehead. I've got 3 examples here. The first originated in Madeira, a group of islands off the coast of North Africa, part of Portugal, and this entered Marblehead in 1767. So before the Revolutionary War, while we were still a colony, this letter came into the United States at Marblehead. Next up, from 1796, we have another letter. This one you can see is postmarked M head. Whether to save time or to save ink, the postmasters would usually abbreviate the word Marblehead. But as you can see, this one, early United States, 1796, came into the country. And lastly, I've got one here from 1801, again, entered the United States at Marblehead. If a letter entered the United States at a port city on a ship like this, it was charged an additional 2 cents postage plus the fee to get it wherever it was going within the United States. So this cover, which was going to New Hampshire, would have cost 20 cents postage with the ship fee, 22 cents postage. So again, these ship letters coming into Marblehead are fascinating relics of a time when there were no airplanes, there were no railroads. All mail across the Atlantic Ocean and around the world really was carried by ship. And lastly, the last couple of covers I want to show you come from Beverly, Massachusetts. The first one on top, you can see the postmark, Beverly. They abbreviated it a little bit, took one of the E's out. You can see B-E-V-R-L-Y, Beverly. The second cover, look closely, B-E-V L-R-Y, Bevelry. It's actually a typo. These postmarks would have been made by Lucette Type from a printer's workshop probably, and at some point the postmaster of Beverly managed to misspell the name of his own town. This is the only example known of the typo Beverly postmark, and I think this is one of the great rarities from Essex County. A wonderful story. I wish I could have seen what was going on in the post office that day to know the story behind it, but what we're left with is this unique artifact of Beverly's history. I'm really glad I was able to share just a couple of the many treasures from Mark Schwartz's collection of Essex County postal history, and I'm really pleased to be able to do it here from Essex County itself, where these covers originated. Again, I think it's important to bring them home one last time before the sale. We thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again next time we can get back out on the road.